The following may contain offensive language, adult humor, and or content that some viewers may find offensive. The views and opinions expressed by any one speaker does not explicitly or necessarily reflect or represent those of Mark Radulich or W2M Network. Please listen with caution, or don't listen at all.
There'll be spectacle, there'll be fantasy, there'll be daring do and stuff like you would never see.
Be a movie, yeah, we're gonna be a movie,
Starring everybody
and me. There'll be heroes bold, there'll be comedy, and a lot of fuss that ends for us real happily. Be a movie, we can watch it all develop, starring everybody
and me. We'll take the world and set it on its ear.
Come on, join in. We're gonna start right here.
Ho, 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 no. Ladies and gentlemen, it's the first of two Christmas-themed podcasts this week, this month, right here on the Radulich and Broadcasting Network. This is Triple Feature. I am your host, the mandated reporter, and frankly, I'm mortified, Mr. Mark Radulich, and down there is my sister from another mister, who's also joining in holiday cheer. Ladies and gentlemen, praying to God her mic works and we don't get an echo. Nick Wanamaker, want to make yourself
Hello. Does it work now?
One more time.
Hello.
All right, you're doing good. Perfect.
Cool.
And up there is my brother from another mother, back with more holiday cheer. Ladies and gentlemen, it is Juicy J, Jesse Starcher. How do you do, sir?
Happy to be here. Mark Radulich. That was an echo. Am I impersonating?
I am about to give you, sir. You keep up with that. I will give you a hot frosty right after.
Oh no, dear Santa! Please bring me a hot frosty. It'll be our little secret.
A rusty. That's right. And a rusty trombone to boot. So like I said, we are doing a triple feature tonight of streaming Christmas movies. Every year I do some sort of Christmas theme show. We usually do them like the Metal Hammer of Doom or something like that. But other years, you know, there's been a lot of around this time of year. There were Damn You Hollywoods that were Christmas themed. Jesse and I, for almost this is the first year I think in a while we haven't done a Christmas comic. Like we've done Klaus and The Last Christmas and a whole bunch. So I was looking at the schedule and I said, you know, I really want to get to some of these Christmas movies that people are talking about, especially one of them. And I thought, okay, well, I'll have Jesse come on because he enjoys doing this sort of stuff with me, and I'm not going to tax his brain too much with deep philosophical film content for these movies. And I threw it out there and said, Mick said, "Oh, include me too." So tonight we are talking Hot Frosty on Netflix, Our Little Secret on Netflix, and we're going to cap things off with Dear Santa from Paramount Plus. Let me throw it to you first, Mick. You volunteered to be here and you made the show. What made you want to come on in and talk about this?
I heard about Hot Frosty and I really wanted to watch it anyway. So I felt like watching the other two movies would just be a bonus.
Fair enough. Yeah, Hot Frosty got a lot of attention this season. It's such a bizarre concept. Jesse, you're here as a hostage. How do you feel about that?
Well, this is definitely not the kind of movie that I'm seeking out during Christmas time. I'll tell you that much. I like my holiday themes either violent or somewhat related to horror. Like I'm a big Gremlins fan. We watched Krampus not too long ago. Scrooged is even kind of scary. Rom-coms not on the agenda.
So what was your reaction when I told you were doing this? I really didn't give you a choice.
I said, I'll watch anything with you, Mark, except for what was the name of that one? Shorties or something? I can't remember. It wasn't Shorties. It was the one where you watched it. I didn't, but I got your commentary on it. That's the one thing I didn't. Cuties. There we go. Yeah. That's the one thing I didn't watch.
in like 10 years of doing this, it was the one time Jesse just noped out and like, I was happy to talk about this with you in absentia.
It's the truth. It's the truth.
Let me throw it over to you, Mick, and then we'll get into Hot Frosty. So I love Christmas movies. I love Christmas. I love this time of year. I'm not going to go into a big depressing tangent about how life has changed and somewhat affected my opinion of Christmas, but I'm in a better headspace than I was a year ago. Needless to say, I'm, especially with having raised kids to the ages of 10 and 13 respectively, we were big fans of Mickey's Christmas Carol. That's a yearly watch, or at least it was. Emmett Otta's Jug Band Christmas. You're looking at me quizzically like you've never heard of that one.
No, I haven't.
We'll talk about it later. Fact is that's on a triple feature with my kids from a few years ago. We've watched, some of the newer stuff. I think one year Anna Kendrick was in a movie called Noelle. I'm not the world's biggest fan of Elf, but that usually gets a watch. So one year, everyone told me, because I hadn't seen it yet, Muppets Christmas Carol is like the best version of a Christmas Carol anyone's ever seen. So and I was pretty accurate. So yeah, I big fan of Christmas movies, big fan of the holiday. I really I know all you weirdos like Halloween, but I and Jesse went on a search for White Christ one year. I don't know if Jesse remembers that. Did you? Sorry,
Sounds very familiar now. Hold on, remind me. Keep it up.
Search unleashes the search for White Christ, like a dozen, because me. But no, yeah, huge fan of Christmas movies, Christmas music. I always force on my family, or used to, Dominic the Italian Christmas Donkey, and I Want a Hippopotamus for Christmas, all that goofy stuff. So just real quick, tell me about your Christmas movie and music habits.
So, believe it or not, Christmas is like my favorite holiday at this point because I love Halloween. I love Halloween, but I live it like every day anyway. So at least Christmas gives me.
You're the best person on this podcast. You can be on anything you want. I take back anything bad I ever said about you.
But I always believe that each family has their Christmas trifecta. It's the 3 movies that they always watch religiously on Christmas. And ours was always A Christmas Story, Elf, and National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation.
Okay.
Solid.
I think the theme.
Yeah.
And my mom's obsessed with The Christmas Story. We went to the house that's standing in Ohio during July.
Wow.
How festive.
Yeah. It's up in Cleveland, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, near Cleveland. Right.
Yeah, but music-wise, I always kind of steer towards the metal Christmas albums. I always listen to Twisted Sister's album.
Oh, my God.
Have I got a Tarja album for you?
What a goddamn snowman in the whole video. Yeah, I know.
Just with her hands.
Jesse always comes across as really affable. You want to see Jesse get pissed? Watch that last year's Metal Hammer of Doom Jukebox. We reviewed the Tarja album. She did an entire album of Christmas music, and it's all like gothy and ethereal. And Jesse loses his fucking mind midway. The first half of it is me crying about my broken marriage and how much I hate the holidays now. The second half is Jesse cry. The second half is Jesse angrily screaming into a mic, like, "Stop looking at your heads!"
It's the truth.
What a show that was. I just listened back. That was quality jukebox. All right.
Good.
With that being said, yeah, it's always fun to look at Christmas movies. I'll throw this out there really quick, and then we'll get into Hot Frosty. I've never watched the Hallmark Christmas movies. It's not my thing. I know they exist. I think Jason's wife, I don't know if she still does it, for a little while did a podcast, and they would review every season's Hallmark Christmas movie, all 7,000 of them.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, it was mentioned, I think, in the pitch meeting for Hot Frosty that it's like $1 billion industry. So I mean, they're wildly popular. It's just they've never been my thing. I don't generally go for the cheese factor like that. But kind of felt like I've been missing out. I think there was some grist for the mill to talk about here. So that's why I landed on at least Hot Frosty and Our Little Secret. The Jack Black one, it was a timing issue. It happened to come out around the time I wanted to do this. And 2, the premise of it struck me as so goddamn funny. I felt like it was worth talking about. So if you guys, do you watch the Hallmark movies at all?
I'm a sucker for a good rom-com, like cheesy Hallmark movie. They're not usually like Hallmark movies specifically, but those super cheesy, you almost want to vomit kind of stories.
Sure. Yeah.
I have a soft spot for them because it's a feel-good thing.
Does your Appalachia wife from Appalachia like the Hallmark movies, Jesse?
Oh yes, absolutely. I mean, it was funny as we get into our little secret, which I know that's a little ways down, but before I forget, because I know we're going to talk about the movie, but the wife was watching it and I came in at like 8 minutes to the end and I was like, wait a second, what is the name of this movie? And because she had already beat me to the punch. She'd already had it queued up and ready to go and watching it. And I was like, stop. I said, I want to watch this too. I have to watch this with you because I got to report on it. But yeah, she loves them. So she's been ingesting them most of the December so far. And it's not too hard to find the ROM. You know, I think there's even, if you got a smart TV, you could probably find yourself the Hallmark channel.
Sure.
And it's just inundated with these things. So yes.
24 hours of cheese.
Yes, indeed.
Sounds like my heaven, my blue heaven. Alrighty. Hot Frosty is a 2024 American Christmas romantic comedy film directed by Jerry Ciccoritti, written by Russell Hainline and starring Lacey Chabert, Dustin Milligan, who I must say, Katy Mixon Greer, Lauren Holly, Chrishell Stause, Lo Truglio, and Craig Robinson, playing Craig Robinson.
You're not a fan?
I will get to it momentarily.
All right, then.
Chabert plays Kathy, a widow who counters her loneliness with a magical snowman brought to life, portrayed by Milligan. It was released on Netflix on November 13th, 2024. Of all three of these, it has the highest rating on Rotten Tomatoes. It's at an 85 from 26 critics, and it's 6 out of 10. So I think Metacritic gave it a 52 out of 100 based on 10 critics. And I'll tell you, it's my favorite, and it's, I think, the best of the three of these by a large margin. There's a pitch meeting on this. The critically acclaimed guys reviewed this. This has been the talk of the town. So real quick, I won't do it in a real long plot synopsis, but basically we have a lonely widow whose home is in disrepair. And while she at least is minimally functional, she is sort of stuck in place after the death of her husband from cancer. She has friends in the community. Those friends run a thrift store. And the lady who runs the thrift store gives her a scarf saying, hey, I came upon this scarf. I feel like I got it for a reason, and I'm giving it to you because I feel like you need it. And she was like, what the fuck I need the scarf for? So she takes to the streets of Baltimore, and she walks by a snowman sculpting contest. One of the snowmen is sculpted like one of them Greek sculptures, Greek god sculptures, just all abbed out and everything. We do not know, nor do I think it is worth pondering whether or not it is anatomically correct. Let's just go with the Christmas magic, 10-year-old boys and weirdos that thought about these things. And it has no clothing and it has no scarf. And so she's like, you seem to need this more than I do. So she puts the scarf around its neck, and voila, Christmas miracle. This thing, like Pinocchio, comes to life. And there's a whole extended sequence of this toddler in a hot man's body going, I'm human and I'm naked and I'm running around. It's the whole thing. So he falls ass backwards into the thrift shop, breaking the glass, which fucking, that's like ECW fucking Hollywood glass there. It was the least believable thing in the movie, and how easy that shattered, and how he wasn't cut to pieces.
Yeah,
but
right.
I digress. So he steals himself some overalls and some galoshes, and he finds his way to Lacey Chabert, who thinks she's a lunatic, and why wouldn't she? She's sane. They over the course of time, he at least convinces her that he's not going to kill her, and she feels somewhat bad for the guy in his situation. So she takes him in and just says, "Don't get into trouble. Stay here, watch TV." And like an AI is able to learn our human ways through the course of watching television. The first thing he does is learn to cook. The second thing he does is learn to do home repair. So while he's there, he fixes the stairs, he fixes the leak in the roof, a couple of other things he does. Because he's a snowman, he likes to be outside where it's cold, and he's out there, in just a t-shirt or no shirt on. And of course, the middle-aged women of the neighborhood see him and go, "Arrrr." And so now he's running around town, shirt or no shirt, helping them with their home repairs as well, which then leads to him getting a job at the school, helping them set up for a school dance, and where he becomes a friend of the children. But because he did fall ass backwards through a pane of glass, we have a sheriff who was our villain in this movie. He's played by Craig Robinson, playing Craig Robinson, and he's an asshole. And he is absolutely obsessed with bringing down the man who shattered a single pane of glass and stole a single item of clothing. And he is joined by Boyd. What's his character's name from
Brooklyn Nine-Nine? Oh, I cannot remember.
Yeah,
but I know. Yeah, that's exactly and it felt like they was doing the same role almost. There was a few more. Yeah, there were a few more differences, but really, that's what I got from it.
So, over the course of time, while that's happening with him, these two characters are forming bonds. He learns of the death of her husband via cancer, and there was discussions about how the death of her husband affected her, and the home is sort of symbolic of her not taking care of herself. Which if you missed it, the movie will just tell you she has stopped taking care of herself and is just minimally functioning due to the loss of the love of her life. They eventually fall in love. They kiss at the dance. I can't remember exactly how Craig Robinson figures out that he's the one that broke the glass, but he arrests him on Christmas Eve. And despite Lacey Chabert telling him repeatedly, "He's a fucking snowman, you psycho. Please, please don't."
Who's the psycho here? Somebody comes to me and says he's the snowman. Who's the psycho?
And the whole town believes him.
Oh yeah.
Well, he was hot and helpful. That usually sells it for people.
Apparently.
So, all right. Long story short, he nearly dies in the jail cell from being overheated because he's a snowman. The town comes together to try to bond him out, but it's too late, and he dies in the snow. And like Snow fucking White, she kisses him, and through the magic of Christmas miracles, he becomes a real boy. He gets up and he's cold because it's cold outside, and he's a human now. And they live happily ever after. They go to Hawaii. He buys her a home repair book, and it's just great and warmed my heart. So I'll give my thoughts at the end, but I want to hear from you guys because I've been talking a while and I need to drink. I'm drinking tonight. Mick, what did you think of this wonderful movie?
I thought it was a really cute movie. I enjoyed it thoroughly. The whole time it's humorous and sweet, and there's different moments of finding out what's going on with her and whatnot, but the cop sequence was beyond the funniest part.
Okay.
And the whole time, we were just thinking, because I watched this with Dorian and Shay, of course, in the living room. We were just like, we need to give this man YouTube. He's watching all this on TV. This is set in present day. There is YouTube.
All right.
Let him go. And I think we just kept zoning in on the logistics of it, and Dorian begged me to say this on this podcast, but I made a comment that was, so he gets overheated and he will die, right? There is no way, even if he was anatomically correct, to be able to have sex with her, because, and I quote, the immense heat of a vagina would melt him.
That is correct. That they could not consummate their love while he remained a snowman.
The immense heat.
Things I thought I would never say out loud in public, and given the things I say out loud in public, that's going some.
Well, I also want to correct you because they didn't actually kiss at the dance, because otherwise the spell would have been broken at that point, because it was the first kiss of true love that actually made him come to life. Otherwise, we would have saved like 20 minutes of that movie.
Okay.
And none of that extra shit would have happened.
I thought they did kiss once, and it was like a quick, like they did it, and then suddenly one of them realized, wait a minute, this isn't a good idea. But if I'm wrong,
it was one of the suspense things where they were about to, and then she turns around. I don't know.
Gotcha.
Anyway,
doesn't matter. Yes,
doesn't matter. But no, I thought it was a very heartwarming movie and a very sweet one. I think the funniest thing of, like, I've been seeing this on the internet, and I said this before that I wanted to watch it anyway, because everyone was like, what is this movie? It's just
yeah.
But yeah, I enjoyed it.
You're gonna talk about leaning into like entendres and like, you know what you have here and you just go for it. I've said a couple of times recently, I don't think we have a lot of really going for it right now in Hollywood. It's just a lot of safe choices. Then you see something like this and go, oh, there is. You just got to know where to find it.
Right.
You know, like, Netflix, the people making this movie and Netflix and everything took one look at those Hallmark movies. It's like, what if a Hallmark Christmas movie, but cheekily kind of pornographic, but take the porno out? Sure. Hot Frosty. Jesse, what did you think of this movie? And did you ever in your life, in your 40 some odd years of life, think that another dude would be like, I need you to watch Hot Frosty with me? And
no. The answer to that is no. One of the problems I have with these types of movies is how kind of predictable I feel that they are. I feel like there's a formula there, like, sure. A to B, what we're going to get is she's going to fall in love with this guy, and something's going to happen that brings Frosty to life, and he's going to stay around. You cannot like just introduce this as a love story and then have him melt away legitimately, and then that be the end. I knew where we were going to go and where we were going to end up at the end of this thing.
Let me tell you how I was pulling for him to die. I wanted a tragic ending.
I mean, she'd already suffered the loss of her own husband. There's no way they're going to do that again to this girl. So I knew that was off the table.
I almost thought they were going to follow the song. I'll be back again someday. Like, what if he just comes back every Christmas time?
Right.
Oh no,
right.
I wanted her to take a bucket of his puddle and like throw it into the Hawaiian waters.
She like, yes. Well, puts him in an urn, keeps him around, and
man, you can't bring that bucket on a plane. It's my boyfriend.
Granted, I did enjoy a little bit of this film. I am a fan of Craig Robinson. I am a fan of is it Joe? My goodness, what was his last name? Joe Truglio? Oh my goodness, Lo Truglio. Yeah, I'm a fan of his too. I mean, both of those guys kind of kept me laughing. I thought it was pretty funny. I did have problems with, because looking at it from like, okay, this town just legitimately, first off, it's the doctor. Like, the one person she has to convince the doctor.
My favorite character in this whole movie.
She's immediately like, oh yeah, he's a snowman. I'm like, where did you get your degree?
Look, from Vulcan, when you've eliminated, Dorian will probably yell it from another room because I'm going to fuck it up. But when you've eliminated the improbable, all that's left is the impossible.
Sure.
Like, everything else about him made no sense. The only thing that made sense was like, I could follow her logic. I thought that was fine.
I thought she was going to get on the phone with, the government immediately afterwards and bring in a SWAT team, dissect this guy and figure out what's going on. But no, that's not what happened.
Whole other movie, my friend.
Yes. Yeah, and I had no idea until today, doing some research, what's going through your head, Mark. You got something going through your head. You're laughing about.
I came here to help you get over your trauma. Oh, stop!
They're like taking a torch to him. It's a
darker movie.
Oh yeah. I did not realize until looking at the reviews today that the guy who played Dustin Milligan, who played Jack Snowman, was the vet from Schitt's Creek. I had no idea that was the case, and he looks nothing like him. It was frightening to see. Well, frightening to think of the change that he went through to look like he does on this. Granted, he's pretty, he looks way better than I do with his shirt off. But in Schitt's Creek, he didn't look like, he looks like a person in Schitt's Creek. Here, he looks like, just like you said, a Greek god. So that kind of stood out to me as being very surprising. But yeah, as far as enjoyment, I mean, it was fun to poke fun at the movie the whole time. It was me, my wife, and a friend of hers from work who sat down and watched this thing. And I every once in a while, I'll just yell at Hot Frosty because I thought it was hilarious. Just right in the middle of the movie. And the old lady's like ogling him, he's just this. That was pretty funny. You want me to get behind you and push? It's like, yeah, I'm looking at my notes here. There's really not much else to say. I mean, it was fun.
Can I tell you? And this may completely blow away my credibility as a reviewer,
a
thinker, and an intellectual. On a 3-point scale where 3 is contender for bottom 5, 2 is somewhere in the middle, and 1 is a contender for my top 10. I'm giving
what?
This a 1.
I have not. Okay, wait a second. Say it one more time.
Yeah. Okay. 3 is a contender for my bottom 5.
Okay.
2 is somewhere in the middle, unranked, just not ranked.
Gotcha.
And a 1 is a contender for my top 10.
Okay.
This gets a 1 from me.
This gets a 1. Wow.
Hell yeah.
Top 10 out of what? Like of all time, or what are you saying? Like top 10
this
out
year.
Of...
I got it.
Okay.
So yeah, this last quarter has been hyper focused. I've been hyper focused on the end of the year stuff. So, which is why we did some of the shows that we did. And I started having to think about because last 2 years I've had to cram and figure out a ranking and try to remember what the fuck I even saw. So I've been paying more attention to it as of late. Yeah, I don't know if it's going to be in the top 10. I got to rewrite.
I'm tuning into that fucking show. I want to hear. I want to hear that shit go down.
Look, function and meeting the criteria is a thing for me.
Sure.
This isn't supposed to be Avengers Endgame.
No.
This isn't. I'm not saying it's a nominee for Best Picture. Like fucking Honora, Amelia Perez, Hot Frosty. I'm not. That's not my contention. My contention is that they set a goal. They achieved that goal. My complaints about this movie are basically one thing, and I'll get to it in a second because I want to gush about the movie first, and then I will complain about Craig Robinson. Because 20 minutes, that's all anyone wants. Just tell us already. Not to be Debbie Downer, but as a cancer survivor, and this being a cancer allegory, this movie did touch me. This movie reached me, and maybe that's why I'm reacting to it. Maybe some would say artificially, more so than others. But I think, a story about making the most of the time that you have really resonates with me. It's certainly a motto that I've come to live by. I don't want to waste my time with people, places, or things. I don't know when my time is done. I'm lucky. It'll be 5 years this summer. I've nearly died 2 or 3 times. Jesse was aware of one of those times, and I yelled at him for kicking me off a podcast mid dying. How dare you? You were dying, sir. What was I supposed to do? And while I was the patient in that situation, I guess in this scenario I would have been the husband, as I actually was. I sympathize a lot, maybe overly sympathize with Lacey Chabert's character of somebody who my heart was with this person and that person's gone, and I don't quite know how to. I don't know how to love myself without them. It's something that I've been doing a lot of therapy with other people through Better Health, not to advertise that, but one of the things that I talk about with my patients is your ability to function as a single person, not solely as part of another relationship, as part of another person. Learning how to, as this character says, love yourself and live with yourself, live with all of your thoughts and feelings and emotions, as awkward as they may be at times and uncomfortable. Being able to do that and function, living with somebody instead of for them or because of them, is something I'm really heavy into pushing. And that's a lot of this movie. That's a lot of the message of this movie. So I really liked all of that. part of the reason why I like the Christmas season and I like Christmas movies is I like the purity of them. You know, good old fashioned, traditional. I know some people struggle with the word traditional. Take a breath and a Xanax. Some traditional values, you know, traditional mores. Not everything has to be, you know, dirty, grimy, against the grain, you know, counterculture stuff. We can have some pure traditional things too. And the movie is just laden with that sort of thing. I'm a big fan of the whole like Pete's Dragon thing, you know, where we have a mythical creature who comes to help a person in need. And when that person in need is able to function again and learns their lessons and is able to grow and evolve, that mythical creature moves on. That's certainly the original Frosty the Snowman. You know, the Frosty comes to life, helps these kids out, and then the season's over. Frosty goes away. Pete's Dragon. Elliot comes to Pete. Pete, finds a new family. Elliot moves on to another boy. So I like that element of this too, that this character came into this person's life to show her how to live again. And, you know, and when all was said and done, he, you know, I'm not kidding when I said Pinocchio, like Pinocchio, earns his real boyness and they are able to be happy together, you know, having moved onward and upward. That's all great. As much as I'm not a romantic and I'm not into romance movies, when one is made available to me and I watch it and it actually reaches me, it's a nice feeling. This was a nice, good old-fashioned romance. People learned and loved. It's great. Touched my heart. I know some people are making a huge deal out of, oh, Jesus, if that had been a woman and the people have been ogling them like that, oh, my God, get over it. We're allowed to find men hot. It's fine. You know, if anything, we're turning that sort of thing upside. Look, Jennifer Lawrence last year in, God, I can't remember the name of the movie now, but there's one movie where Jennifer Lawrence is naked and fighting people on a beach. Like, you know, it was supposed to return to like, it was supposed to be a return to like the sexy comedy. And I wish I could remember the name of it now. Look it up, Nick. It's a really good movie. It's not quite as sexy or funny as I thought it was going to be, but it's good shit. But yeah, Jennifer Lawrence naked on a beach and punching people. Like, it's fun. Yeah, it's fine. It's all fine. You know, let people be naked and ogled if that's what they choose to do. For God's sakes, let people have agency. Anyway, my one major complaint about this, and then we'll move on to our little secret after I give you guys the last word, is I understand in screenplay structure there has to be hurdles. One fucking hurdle in this movie. And it's Craig Robinson. And while everybody else's logic and behavior I could track, including the doctor, as I said before, when it was like, well, there's nothing there, all the evidence points to he's probably a snowman. I would like to live in a world where there's magic. This is an example of magic. I'm gonna run with this. And Lacey Chabert is like, what am I supposed to do here? And everybody else in the town is just like, sure, let's just live in a world with magic. We'll all be a little better off for it. That all actually tracks for me. My point is they're all acting like human beings, and the only one is Craig Robinson. Like he's acting like a complete psycho.
He's gonna get his villain. He's gonna get this guy who broke into
the problem is this is Craig Robinson's exact same character from Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Oh, what was his name? Daggone, I can't remember. I'll figure it out.
Like a girl's name or something like that. But
Judy.
Yeah, Judy.
Yeah.
Judy. Yeah, I hate him. This is a personal thing for me. I struggle with a lot of comedies and a lot of romantic comedies because they write characters so broadly they stop behaving like humans, and that takes me out of the movie. And he was so bad. Look, I work with cops, and the first sign of we don't want to prosecute this guy, we don't want to press charges, we don't care, they'd have been like, good, so problem solved. Goodbye, everybody.
Yeah.
We're going back to looking at porn on our phones or whatever it is, you know, cops do. We're done here. You know, like his one-man crusade to keep this town crime-free. Like the one line in the movie, like, and because of me, there have been no murders. There have been no murders here for 100 years. You're welcome. Like fucking Maui. It was the same beat. It was the same beat for 90 minutes. It drove me up the fucking wall. And then his turn at the end, for that kind of return, he needed to have been shamed more. And I think the only reason why I don't cry harder about it is because it's his son that finally pushes him over. And who when your son's shaming you, it's like, all right, if I'm gonna listen to anybody on earth, I'll listen to my own kid. But I think up to that point, it just felt like, but we got to that point in the movie, he was calling him a terrorist because he had no fingerprints. And then suddenly it was like, but father, he called Craig Robinson father, but father, he's my friend and the town loves him. Fine. And then he dies. And it was like, oh, that should have been a little bit more earned and a little bit stronger. But again, I'm quibbling at a fucking Netflix 90s style rom-com and going, beefier script here.
Right.
Nobody on earth agrees with my point of view. They're just like, I didn't even notice it. Hey, film critic in me. It's my one thing I'm going to hit. Mick, you want to add to anything that I've said or remark on it? If not, I'll throw it over to Jesse.
No, I think I'm good.
Jesse, you got any last words before we move on?
I guess I did want to bring up something I learned today about the Netflix Christmas universe, or the Netflix cinematic universe. I think it's Christmas universe, which apparently there were a couple mentions to other Netflix Christmas, like references to other Christmas specials or Wonderful. Christmas movies. Aldovio was mentioned, which I think happened. And I believe there's a joke where Kathy is watching TV and says that Lindsay Lohan they're watching a Lindsay Lohan Christmas special, Netflix Christmas special. Mm-hmm. And she says, it looks like a girl I went to high school with, which is a Mean Girls reference. Yep. So anyway, I thought that was pretty neat, learning a little bit about that today. But anyway, it is what it was. It was kind of what I was expecting. Hot Frosty, ladies and gentlemen. Hot Frosty. Yep.
Hot Frosty. Come on over to my place. I'll give you a Hot Frosty.
Jesus,
and then it'll be our little secret. All right. Speaking of which,
my goodness.
Our Little Secret is a 2024 American romantic comedy film directed by Stephen Herek and written by Hailey DeDominicis. It stars Lindsay Lohan alongside an ensemble cast featuring Ian Harding, Tim Meadows, Jon Rudnitsky, Judy Reyes, Henry Czerny, Chris Parnell, and Kristin Chenoweth. One of these guys looks like fucking Cody Rhodes, by the way. Come on, back me up on that, Jesse. You know
I think you're talking about the young kid, right? Callum.
Yeah, the young brother. Yeah, he turned around and was like, Cody. And I'm like, wait, that's not Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes, what are you doing here? A very brief cameo, and then he hit Lindsay Lohan with the title.
My father's Dusty Rhodes.
All right, give me half a second. My camera froze.
Oh, you did. He's a freezing guy. He's a hot frosty himself, I guess. He's freezing over there. Oh goodness. Yeah, I got some notes about this one. Lindsay Lohan and her hijinks ensue on Our Little Secret.
Right. I didn't realize we're gonna have a Mean Girls reunion too.
Right.
All right. This film was part of Lohan's creative partnership with Netflix, under which she also executive produced the project. Our Little Secret follows Avery, who is Lindsay Lohan, who is spending her first Christmas with her boyfriend's family, but discovers, dun, 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 her ex is also part of the holiday festivities and decides to hide their romantic history. Production began in Atlanta in January of 2024 and concluded late in the following month. It was released on the streaming service on November 27th, 2024, and the film received mixed reviews. This is I think the second of the ones she's done for Netflix. I had a brief urge to talk about holiday. I think Irish Kiss. Have you seen that one, Mick?
I don't think so.
Oh yeah, this was the talk of the town in spring. Jesse, did Mindy make you watch Irish Kiss?
No, I didn't even know it existed.
Oh yeah, it's another one of these Lindsay Lohan romantic comedies she's done for Netflix just this year alone. So I was trying to convince Neil and Chris to review it, and apparently one of them doesn't like. I think it's Chris doesn't like rom-coms.
Well, she did another Christmas related rom-com. Was it a year or two ago where she got amnesia and falls in love with a guy, and then turns out, the time she got amnesia, she was engaged to somebody. But anyway, I did watch that one. I was part of that one, there recently.
That is how I get girls to fall in love with me, Jesse. I punch them in the fucking head until they
knock them out. Give them amnesia. Give them a little brain damage.
Yeah, when they wake up, I clean the drool out of their mouth and go, and they go, her, and they love it.
Look, you're married.
Lobotomy.
Lobotomy you, lobotomy, lobotomy everybody. That was Fedorian. All right. So let's get into this. Was this one that was on your list of things to watch, or this is one where you wanted to talk about Hot Frosty, and this one you're doing at gunpoint?
I actually didn't know. I've never heard of it until this triple feature. And so, I mean, I had no reservations for it. Like, I guess I didn't feel one way or the other, is what I'm saying. Gotcha. But I did enjoy it.
Okay. I'll come back. We'll round back, get your full thoughts. Jesse, did you know about this one? You said you didn't watch it with Mindy beforehand.
No, this is the one where I walk in and there's like 8 minutes left of this thing. I said, "What's the movie you're watching?" Because I noticed it was Lindsay Lohan was in this thing, and I'm like, "Oh crap, I'm supposed to watch that." So, as a trooper, she did shut it off, and she waited probably about a week and a half to 2 weeks before we went back and watched it. And she watched all of it with me. But I knew of the Lindsay Lohan Christmas movies because probably scrolling through Netflix, I had seen it, so I didn't have any inclination to watch it or anything like that. But yeah, that's kind of where I was. I was not going to watch this unless I had to.
I think of the three that we're talking about, this is the most Hallmarky of these movies. Like, this is
okay.
From what I know of Hallmark Christmas movies, not like I've watched a bunch. I think this one, like Hot Frosty, is just so over the top silly that it might be going for the Hallmark thing, but I actually think it's more than that. And then Dear Santa's nothing like a Hallmark Christmas movie at all. This one, I think, comes the closest to like the Hallmark Christmas romance movie.
Oh, and very much based, in something that could potentially happen in reality.
Sure, absolutely.
So, yeah.
All right. So the plot of this thing is Lindsay Lohan and Ian Harding are childhood sweethearts, and over the course of their early life, at some point, Lindsay Lohan's mom dies. It affects her. It affects her father. It affects her desire to live in the United States. And because these are successful white people, she gets a job offer to go work in London. And she's like, you know what? Opportunity, travel. I don't have to stay here and confront the death of my mother any longer. I don't have to watch my father descend into madness. I'm going. And Ian Harding, like every other boyfriend, is just like, what the fuck? Like, wait, what about me? Am I not important in all of this? Am I not a thing? And she was like, no, you are not. So at her going away party, he tries to woo her with marriage, and it goes as you might suspect.
He did not try to woo her. That was a bad. That guy said some really stupid things. I think alcohol was involved as well.
Yeah, for sure.
He proposed marriage to her, and it went, and she did not accept, and then he went out of his mind.
Okay, all right.
Anyway, so 10 years passes. So she goes to London. 10 years passes, and now they are both with other people. Now they are both back, and unbeknownst to each other, they are dating siblings. He's dating a girl, she's dating a guy, and they are all coming home for Christmas holiday. We are introduced to Kristin Chenoweth, who's kind of like, upper class, white, snooty, exhausting woman. And she is like just the high matriarch of this family. Don't fuck with this lady. She'll beat you to death. And we have a henpecked husband, and we have Cody Rhodes as the younger brother. And he is quite the American nightmare. Yes. And Jesse, he's quite the American nightmare, huh? Bang, bang.
Oh boy.
All right. Mick's like, I don't know what the fuck they're talking about.
I'm just gonna sit here and smile.
Perfect. Anyway, once they realize what's happening, Lindsay Lohan's like, look, we're trying to both make a good impression here, and I'm already like pissing this mom off. Maybe let's not tell her. This will be weird. And he's like, anything for you, sweetie. I just want to make you happy. That's his whole character. So from that point on in the movie, just stuff happens. There's a bit where Lindsay Lohan. It's a lot of like quasi cringe humor. Where oh no, Lindsay Lohan accidentally took gummies. Oh no, Lindsay Lohan ate all the cookies she was told not to eat. Oh no, this just goes on and on and on and on until finally the cat's out of the bag, and it's like a lot of it's like the secret of my success. Everyone's just standing around and somebody yells, all right, the sexual revolution is over. Everybody out of the bed. You got the dad who was caught cheating on Kristin Chenoweth. And their neighbors are family neighbors are Tim Meadows and his wife, and the dad's cheating with Tim Meadows' wife. Other stuff I think comes out, the son, the youngest son, who I keep calling Cody Rhodes, like blackmails Lindsay Lohan into like doing his dirty work for him, stuff like that. That comes out. So it's a whole mess. Somewhere in all of this, Lindsay Lohan's dad is selling the house and decides to give it to Lindsay Lohan, or like sell it to her for cost. And
he must really love her.
We love our children. So over the course of the movie, she does confront the death of her mother. There is a thing between her and the boyfriend about it. It just sort of happens. There's not a lot of prompting that goes into it, but eventually she, with the kind of getting past the thing with the mom and being given the house, she decides she's going to live in the house. She's going to stay in the States. Because everything kind of blew up, the boyfriend and his current girlfriend break up. Lindsay Lohan's boyfriend cheated on her as well, so they break up. And at some point, Lindsay Lohan and the mom make up, but also Lindsay Lohan tries to make amends by getting the Ian Harding's character a gig with Tim Meadows, which is, a really nice, profitable thing. And there's like a somewhat small character arc that gets paid off with that for him. By the end of the movie, they are going to be married, or they are married. They are living in the house, and all's well that ends well. So that's more or less our little secret. Mick, what did you think of this?
So,
well said.
Thank you. that was my review.
What did you think of this movie? All righty. Here's Santa.
I agreed that it was definitely more of the Hallmarky kind of style out of all three of these. That's like true Hallmark. But I also felt like the story was definitely something that could happen. Like, especially when you grow up with someone that long and then you kind of start dating because you've been with each other for so long. It makes sense that she would just leave and be like, bye. Because if she has that heartbreak with losing her mom, then she's not going to know what to do. And she doesn't want to lean on someone who she's been with the entire time. Kind of finding yourself, I suppose.
Sure.
But I felt like this movie had a bunch of secondhand embarrassment that almost, it wasn't like cringy. It was just, you're sitting there like gripping your knuckles because it's just not.
How are you going to get out of this one? Oh,
right?
You're going to have to do something.
Especially the vet.
Yeah, the dog and the veterinarian situation. I was like, oh, she's done for now, right? And no, she figured out a way out of it.
No, the vet was just like, as long as you pay for it.
Right.
But where's she getting that money? She must have a really good job.
Well, she's rich.
Oh yeah, she has a high-paying job in London.
But that's the exact thing. That's the exact same thing that went through my mind.
Yeah, she has a job doing middle-aged white girl stuff. As we all aspire to be. Middle-aged, high-paid white women.
That's what I wanted to be when I grew up.
Following one of the most truest Hallmark tropes, having the job forward businesswoman, middle-aged, or not middle-aged, but like millennial.
Yeah.
And then coming home.
Dad, I made good.
I thought their relationship at the end was kind of sweet. It was definitely predictable. As soon as like they saw each other at that party, you knew. Mm-hmm. But no, I thought it was funny. I thought it was well thought out, and there was enough stuff in between that it's not something like a huge complex plot, but it's enough to make your heart warm.
I agree. It is a heartwarming movie that makes your heart warm. Jesse, tell us about your warm heart.
Oh my goodness, it grew 3 sizes that day.
Oh God, call a doctor.
I mean, starting out with this movie, I thought the intro was really cool. Like, after the big blow up, they then show like 10 years pass, and they start showing it's like a montage of news footage and stuff that's happened between 2014 and 2024, which I thought was really cool. I think that guy was an idiot and for saying all of that stuff in front of her family. I understand alcohol was involved, but here we have Ian Harding's character Logan just going off about how she's running away. It's like, you do not say this stuff in front of not only the woman that you want to marry, but her family as well. And I was like, oh, there's no coming back from this guy. So 10 years pass, and then we have this crazy situation, which leads to more crazy situations. The dog situation that we were talking about. It's so funny because I knew she was going to blame the cookies being eaten on the dog. And I was like, are they going to gloss over the fact that these cookies probably have chocolate in them? And that becomes the whole thing. And I'm like, oh, okay, good. At least they didn't like just gloss over that. It became a whole other situation. So they stuck to like, okay, what would actually really happen if something like this did occur? Her getting high at church was pretty damn funny.
That was the best.
I was entertained. I was laughing. Poor Tim Meadows and his character. I felt so bad for him, but then at the end, I think, is he the one that ends up...
And we didn't even give him a 5th sandwich. That's for Jason.
Yes, I knew that would go to Teasley. And then dementia saved the day almost at one point, I was like, I don't know if that's a good joke. We shouldn't be, we shouldn't be using this poor lady's frail, mental health and mental state as something as a plot twist for this movie or a plot development. Anyway, I had a good time. I think as entertaining, Jack Black, as we get into the next one, I think has his own space in my heart. But I will say that I was laughing quite a bit during Our Little Secret. And, I kind of knew this is one where I didn't think I would like those two at the beginning getting back together. And I don't know if it's just a situation where it's like, this guy overstepped his bounds 10 years ago. I don't know if I'd be giving this dude a second chance, but I think that's the whole point of the film. It's second chance romance. Let's all dance. All right, I'm done.
He has a line in this movie. It's my favorite line of this entire movie. We're literally talking about these in the order in which I like these movies. I like Hot Frosty the best. I like Our Little Secret after that, and I have thoughts about Dear Santa. But he has a line, and it's the best line of any of these movies, and it's like, I knew I was doomed from the moment I met you. And I fucking died. I laughed out loud. And I was like, because I was kind of in and out of the movie, especially because I watched it 6 o'clock this morning. That cracked me up. And it does kind of speak to the nature of romance. Romance isn't always logical. In fact, it oftentimes isn't. And it's like, you just, you fall for somebody, and there's something about them, both positive and negative, where you can't break free of their spell, but you also know that they're trouble, and they're just gonna cause you some hurt. But that's
Jackie.
okay, Wasn't gonna name her by name.
I didn't say anything. That's clear in my throat.
Okay. Get me in trouble is what you're gonna do. Look, naked swimming can only solve so many of my problems, Jesse.
Oh.
But yeah, sometimes you can't help who you fall in love with, and and if they're trouble on top of that, God, life's full of adventures. So I did enjoy that chemistry between him and Lindsay Lohan. Robert and I talked about this rather recently. The reason, especially when we did the 10 worst movies of the year so far on streaming, we don't do a lot of comedy on here because modern comedy seems to be either gross or it's all awkward cringe humor. It's, oh no, this happened and it's awkward and people aren't behaving like humans and isn't that funny? And it, going all the way back to when I was a kid, I used to watch in syndication the 70s show Three's Company, where the premise of that show is that it's the 70s and John Ritter lives with two beautiful women, and the apartment manager doesn't want hanky-panky going on in his apartments, and so John Ritter has to be gay in order for this to work, and I want to stress it's the 70s. So so whenever Mr. Furley or Mr. Roper are around, Jack has to, act very flamboyantly gay in order to sell it. And so Three's Company was just a lot of that humor, a lot of awkward, cringy, oh no, Jack has to act gay in a situation where he's not. Oh no, Chrissy fell in the bathtub. So it's that kind of thing. And even though I watched that as a kid, for whatever reason, it definitely colored the way I view and feel about comedy to where I fucking hate it. I hate cringy, awkward humor. I think for the same reason I react this way to horror, I don't particularly enjoy feeling uncomfortable. And that kind of humor, things that are gross and being scared out of my pants, all of which make me uncomfortable, and I don't like it. And I've tried to, up until I met these psychos, I was avoiding it, and then they made me review all these crazy movies, and now I'm dead inside. Anyway, so
you love us.
Some of you. Anyway, that being said, that's like 90% of this fucking movie is that kind of stuff. So it was a hard watch for me. Thankfully, they don't lean too far into it. Like, Lindsay Lohan eating the plate of cookies in a fugue state, it seemed like, and then waking up, oh no, I've eaten all the cookies. Like, the fuck? Like, I was warned not to do this. That's the whole joke. And they fixed it fast enough. Like the vet stuff isn't so over the top awful. It's not like there's something about Mary or anything like that. Like, they get out of it pretty cleanly.
Right.
There's a couple of more jokes like that throughout the movie where I could start to feel the awkwardness and the uncomfortableness, and then they would get away from it again. Like, oh, thank God. I think Kristin Chenoweth is the star of this movie. She's fucking she's awesome in this. Like, she's such an awful human being.
Yes.
She's the best.
She plays such a dick. And honestly, it was the most fun performance in the thing.
I love the paintings.
Oh yeah.
That throughout, and she's not even like, she's not even on screen other than she's in the painting, and how much character that that supports what she's like, because every single painting she does not change whatsoever. Like, she's a damn vampire or some shit. She's she's just, every painting she looks exactly the same. But yeah, she is a great actress.
Yeah.
Well, if you notice, each painting had a haloing effect over her.
Yes,
which shadowed
she was the brightest one on there. She was
always brighter than everyone. That's right.
Yes,
good stuff. Yeah, she's the best part of this movie for me. Lindsay Lohan's fine. She's perfectly serviceable in her role. She's actually a likable person despite her flaws, which is for especially this kind of movie, halfway decent character writing. Like, I don't find myself ever rooting against her. She's not so twatty and awful that I'm like, good, I hope you wind up miserable and alone with a bunch of cats. She's actually somebody who I want to see find love. I want to see her get her shit together and be rewarded with a fulfilled life with friends and family that love her, which is nice for a fucking change. But my actual favorite character besides Kristin Chenoweth just on performance is Ian Harding as Logan. Your bro is my fucking spirit animal, man. Like, this is a guy who's just trying to do right by the people he loves and is just jumping over hurdles and diving under fences, and he's trying so hard. Like, I know you're like, oh, he made a rude comment 10 years ago at a party. Oh my God. Sorry, we're not all as perfect as the Starcher family, but
I think
but
that
this
another
guy's trying.
Okay. And I think one of the other like nitpicky things that I have with movies that are kind of like this, I don't. Now, granted, you could make an argument that this is a Christmas movie. I think because of number one, you got the families getting together, and as families get together, it does get a bit difficult sometimes. But I do not like Christmas breakup movies to get other people together. That just bothers me. Like even though these guys were totally wrong for each other, I guess. It's a situation where it's just like, okay, at the end of this, not everybody lives happily ever after. They try to make it seem like at least Tim Meadows goes off with Erica, which I sincerely doubt that dude's happy to this day. That character Tim Meadows plays rolling away with Erica in tow. No, thank you. But I don't like situations where it takes kind of like a difficult relationship to get to the end of this, where we're back to kind of like where we started, but that's just
I'm
me.
willing to go with you in this one place. The girl who's dating Ian Harding didn't do anything wrong. She's kind of a dingbat, and I think the implication is that she's way young for him. But so the fuck what? If they were getting along and they light each other's fires, who cares?
Right.
She's not 17. Who gives a fuck? Like as long as they're both consenting adults, whatever. She doesn't do anything wrong in the movie to deserve him, getting broken up with.
Right.
The boyfriend of Lindsay Lohan cheated on her.
Yeah.
So I mean, and so someone might say maybe the writing's a little uneven then, because what they're going for at the end is these two are trying to keep a secret from what the commentary in the movie, believe it or not, is the imperfections underneath the perfect looking family, and that these well-to-do, perfectly pristine and manicured families are hiding a lot of insidious stuff. And boy, am I overusing the word insidious here? Like keeping fucking ghosts and shit in the basement, it's like put away the human sacrifice. It's Christmas. But like clearly this family is not perfect and they have problems, but they have this veneer of all American perfect whiteness. And I think that's the kind of like the point here is that you don't have to hide your imperfections. These things should be out in the open, celebrated, talked about, dealt with. My only other complaint about this movie is I didn't get how Lindsay Lohan got over her mom's dying. There's a scene of her in the house with Ian Harding where she puts her head on his shoulder and they're talking, and then the scene ends, and then they don't deal with it again until the end of the movie. And by the end, and the dad just gives her the house, and she's like, "I'm over it now." I don't know how we got you over this hump. I don't remember there being a long discussion or a thing that happens in the movie that gets her past her. I mean, I guess the implication is that it was so long ago at this point that time has healed the wound.
Right.
But I think if you're going to put that in the movie, you have to address it better than that. And that would be my only quibble. And I guess if the writers were here, they'd be like, "It's a fucking Hallmark Christmas movie, you psycho." we just want hot people to get together by the end of it and there to be Christmas shit around. Fine. But as a film critic, that element of it was not particularly strong, and I need to call that out. Mick, any last thoughts about Our Little Secret or anything I've said or Jesse said?
That scene where she goes back to the house, like I cried so hard.
Oh, really?
Can you talk about why?
Yeah, because moving.
Okay.
Military kid, so moving was always emotional. Even if we were doing it every once in a while, it was still like.
Never gets easier, huh?
No.
I get you. Jesse, any final words before we move on?
No, I'm ready to go on and talk about this great Jack Black film.
Blah. All right.
Mark, your thoughts. Blah.
All righty. Dear Santa is a 2024 American Christmas comedy film directed by Bobby Farrelly. And if that name sounds familiar, it's because he's part of the Farrelly brothers. And if they sound familiar, because they have made all of your famous suck shit movies.
Ooh.
Dumb and Dumber, Kingpin, There's Something About Mary, blah! Outside Providence, Me, Myself, and Irene.
Oh my gosh, that's a great
Jones, Shallow Hal,
film.
Stuck on You, Fever Pitch, Hall Pass, Dumb and Dumber 2, Champions, and Dear Santa. And didn't these people also do the stupid Step Brothers movie?
Farrelly Brothers? I don't know. I'd have to look that up.
You do that.
I figured that would actually be on that list that you just wrote.
That's what I thought. That's why what I was reading from was just Bobby Farrelly's stuff.
Okay.
All
right.
So
I'll look it up. You keep talking.
No, too late. Okay, Farrelly Brothers. Yeah, the list is a lot longer. When it's the work of the Farrelly Brothers, and
they did not. It was directed by Adam McKay, produced by Jimmy Miller and Judd Apatow.
Okay, Judd Apatow, the other monster of Hollywood comedy, and I mean that in the worst way possible. Oh my God, the Farrelly Brothers were responsible for the crime against cinema that was movie 43. Ugh.
Never seen that.
It's pretty terrible. Anyway, back to this. It was written by Ricky Blitt, Jack Black, and Peter Farrelly from a story by Ricky Blitt and Peter Farrelly and Dan Hewen, starring Jack Black, Keegan-Michael Key, Robert Timothy Smith, Brianne Howie, Hayes MacArthur, Austin Post, and P.J. Byrne. It tells the story of a dyslexic and meek sixth grader who writes a Christmas list to Santa Claus to help with his problems, only for his misspelling to lead him to meeting Satan, who helps him out. It was released on Paramount Plus and digital platforms November 25th by Paramount Pictures. It was met with mixed reviews. Yeah, this thing, which, by the way, if I didn't say it before, Our Little Secret got a 37 on Rotten Tomatoes. Not exactly great. And this one's even worse with 21. So let me say this. A couple years ago, I think the first year Disney Plus was around, Jonas and I did a review of Home Sweet Home Alone. And that's really what got me kind of on the kick of doing these like streaming Christmas movies. And I remember Jonas and I saying at the time, and there's a reason why I'm bringing this up, the kid in Home Sweet Home Alone, I wanted to see run over by a fire truck. He was awful. And I'm not talking about the actor. The actor was fine. He as a character though sucked. Kevin McAllister, you can kind of feel somewhat sorry for. This kid, I remember even Jonas at the time was like, I don't feel sorry for him. I know, I'm rooting for the fucking parents to try to get their dolls back. This kid's terrible. I want him to have a bad Christmas. Before I even get into the plot synopsis, let me say this: the one positive thing I can say about Dear Santa, they really made the kid likable. They really went out of their way to make him likable, somebody you want to root for. That kid is imbued with the spirit of Christmas, and everything about him is fantastic. And I'm glad we've learned the lesson, it seems, from Home Sweet Home Alone of don't make your kid protagonists suck. That's a bad start for your movie. Let me go ahead and say that. So Dear Santa, we have a couple, mom and a dad, who are having a rough go of it, just bickering and backbiting. And in the middle of all of this is our lead boy, who I just mentioned, whose name is
Liam.
Yes, Robert Timothy Smith as Liam Turner. And so he is dyslexic, and he does write a letter. And it is revealed throughout the course of the movie that part of the reason why this family is in the situation is they moved from where they had lived. And where they had lived, he had a brother, and that brother died while playing with Liam. And so
tragic
this family,
backstory right there.
Yeah. And so this family is still dealing with the loss of that son. That comes into play. It's not revealed what he wrote in the letter at this point, but it'll be revealed by the end of the movie. So Liam has one friend. The friend has crooked teeth. Liam likes a girl. The girl has a bully as a boyfriend. Tale as all this time. The kid is kind of misunderstood by his parents. The mom coddles him. The dad wishes he would be, a little tougher, a little more serious minded. And the kid is just trying to figure out how to get through life. So one fine day, he is approached by Jack Black, who is playing at the time. He is calling himself Satan and saying, "You wrote me a letter." And he was like, "I wrote Santa a letter." And he was like, "Nope, it says Satan here. Dyslexia, everybody." So anyway, he's like, "Well, here's the deal, kiddo. I'm Satan, and I operate the same way as Genie. Only at the end of your 3 wishes, I have your soul. And he was like, but I don't want to sell my soul. I'm a decent human being.
He's like, sir, I'm sorry that there has been a misunderstanding.
I want no part of this. This can only end in tears. And he says, let me explain to you the rules so that there'll be a movie. You can have at least 2 wishes with no consequences. After the third one, I take your soul. So as long as you only make 2 wishes, you get what you want, and nothing bad's going to happen to you. And he was like, well, that's a fair deal. So Jack Black is trying to manipulate him into making his first wish, which he does, and that is for the girl to give him a chance. Like if the girl would only not have a boyfriend long enough for me to prove to her that I'm a pretty cool fruit who really knows where his towel's at, then she will fall madly in love with me, and we will live happily ever after next to Lindsay Lohan. Fine. So Jack Black does exactly that. He gives him tickets to Post Malone to impress the girl with. The girl breaks up with the bully boyfriend. He asks her out. They go to Post Malone. And while he's there, Jack Black does Satan magic to make him awesome. He dances. He's entertaining. He's amazing. The crowd loves him. It's just an amazing moment. And of course, the girl falls in love with the kid. Great. Now they're a couple. The kid is trying to not talk openly about this, but he can't not talk about it. And his parents catch wind of this, and they go, "Well, it's one thing to see a snowman come to life, but you talking to Satan is beyond the pale."
Call the doctor.
So they call a child. So they're calling him a child psychiatrist, but he's acting more like a neurologist. And it's Keegan-Michael Key being Keegan-Michael Key. And so there's a whole thing where he has to explain to Keegan-Michael Key what his deal is. And Keegan-Michael Key is like, yeah, you sound crazy. Some more stuff happens. The kid selflessly uses his second wish to correct his friend's teeth. Now his teeth are straightened out, and the kid's actually a fairly good-looking kid now. And so they go to a carnival, and the parents are like, we need to get. They overhear him talking about like something's going to happen at this carnival. It's like almost implied. It's like a Columbine situation. Like he's going to go to the carnival and like blow some shit up. Like, oh no, our child's
in the name of Satan.
Yeah, in the name of Satan, like we all do. So they go to find him, and they bring him, and they get him from their mid-date, and they bring him to the hospital where he is having neurology tests. Satan shows up, Jack Black, and he shows him on the monitor what appears to be the best friend hitting on the girlfriend. So now the kid's like pissed off and disappointed and frustrated. And oh, by the way, they don't find a brain tumor, so he's released. And again, there's no rational explanation for the way he's behaving, and the kid's pissed off now. So if I remember correctly, the next thing that happens, which kind of gets us into our third act, is he finally does make the third wish. And the third wish is that, the parents get into a fight where basically the mother's like, you blame me for the death of our son because I wasn't there watching him. And the father's like, I don't know what I think. God help me if I ever have enough time to fucking have a thought to myself where I can process this stuff. And so they're just fighting, and it explodes with him, and him going, I'm going to go stay at my sister's. And because the woman in there, instead of saying, I would really prefer if you didn't do that, says, yeah, why don't you go? And it's actually a fairly well acted scene. And people do act that stupid, unfortunately. So having heard all of that, Liam's like, well, I don't want this. So I'll use my third wish and I'll sell my soul. And my third wish is that my parents stay together. Except that the timing doesn't work out because because he runs away. They go after him, and in the car, they reconcile their differences about their perception of the other one. She's like, I thought you blamed me. And he was like, I never thought that at all. I never thought it was your fault. Like, you'd think, I blame myself. I should have been there. She was like, you were golfing. It was Saturday. Like no one wakes up thinking my kid's going to have a tragic accident. They make up, they love each other again, and then they find their son. So now Satan thinks he's made, they made the third wish. He's got the kid's soul. He goes back and it turns out he's not actually Satan. He's a demon. and he's trying to gain his horns because the Christmas miracle, you gain your wings, you're an angel, but we're dealing with the devil, so you get horns.
Yes, right.
Hollywood writing. So anyway, so he goes before Satan, and he was just like, well, sir, I have brought you the soul of a child. He was just like, it's the worst soul ever. First of all, this kid's an actual good kid. Second of all, he didn't get his third wish. The parents made up before that. Third, you stink. Get out of here. So he is exiled from hell. He goes and finds the kid, and they reconcile, and he does end up granting him his third wish, soul taking free. And the third wish is that the brother never died. So he wakes up Christmas morning, and he's already reconciled with the best friend. There's a whole stretch where, because he sold, I forgot this part, this is important. There's a stretch of the movie where, because he sold his soul to the devil, he no longer cares if he acts like a good person or not. So he spends the day being a shitty person. Tells the crossing guard to go fuck herself, tells the teacher to go fuck himself, tells the bully to go fuck himself. And at the end of all things, the girl's like, I liked you because you were decent. You're being indecent. I no longer like you. He's like, ha, crushed. What? That's that. So and then that leads to the end of the movie. He wakes up and he's decided to be decent again. He sees the brother, gives him a big hug. And in I can't remember what movie it was. Oh, it was like The Crow, where they've now reset the timeline to where, wait, none of this matches up anymore. So the rest of the world has known time has passed and has known this family to not have a younger son. As a matter of fact, to the point where the kid says something about, the best friend says something to the girl about, oh, I told you had a dead brother who's now alive.
Yeah.
So
the writing, trying to put that into the show. I mean, why? Who's not editing this? Who is not looking at this and making sure that?
Yeah. So
there'd be a little bit of problems if he goes back to school and all of a sudden he has a little brother.
Right.
The kid has a death certificate.
Right.
The Christmas magic, or the Satan's Christmas magic, only affected this house. The rest of the world is operating with the kid being dead, which made me wonder, is the body still in the grave? What are we doing?
There are lots of questions left trying to figure out what in the world is going to happen to this family.
Well, let's put it this way. I watched Hot Frosty with my kids, and Jonas the whole time, does he have a penis? What is it? Asking all of these existential questions about the snowman, and I'm like, could you please just watch this movie? Had I had him watch Dear Santa, we'd still be asking questions about it. That's problematic.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so that's Dear Santa. Mick, what'd you think?
I thought it was cute. What was funny was the first reaction to Liam when he came up on screen. I was like, that looks like your son.
Yeah, chubby version of Jonas.
But I remember seeing, I don't remember if it was a teaser trailer or if it was an official trailer when it was first being advertised, but I thought it was going to be a horror movie at first.
Not the case.
No, not at all. It is farther from that.
Mm-hmm.
But otherwise, I felt like it was a good movie. I enjoyed it. Honestly, I would think Hot Frosty, Dear Santa, and then Our Little Secret is how I'd rank these.
Okay.
All right. So you're what's your favorite Jack Black movie, Jonas? Jesse, Jason,
Jimothy. School of Rock.
Good, because he's fucking doing his School of Rock character through this entire fucking movie. In Satan cosplay. Jack Black has been doing the same two characters. It's the character from High Fidelity and School of Rock for his entire fucking career.
Okay, all right.
All I could think of was it feels like his character, they told him to do his Tenacious D Jack Black version, but then they're like, oh, but by the way, it's PG, so you can't do all the other stuff.
Right.
So there was a weird imbalance where it feels like if he had full reign, it could have been so much better.
That was one of
if they had gone for a bad Santa vibe.
That was one of the criticisms about this movie, was the fact who is it for?
Right.
You can rate it something, but there's enough, the Farrelly brothers and their humor. Bobby stuck some humor in here that it might be a little over the top for some kids. And then the adults are, I don't know who the hell Post Malone is. I'm just kidding. I know who Post Malone is. That's because
I don't.
I watch Rhett and Link.
Who the fuck is that?
I know who he is. But regardless, you know, there's just main character is a kid, so you'd think this would appeal to kids. I had my kids watch this with me, and they loved it. So I would say that that's got to be the target audience. They had a great time watching the movie, but you know, there are some themes here that you got to think, well, do I want my kids watching this around Christmas? Possibly. There's some people out there that are probably going to wonder that. So yeah, you're right. You know, I would have loved to have seen this as Tenacious D and you know, just turn it loose. And that's kind of not what we get. I will say Robert Timothy Smith is the kid that plays Liam Turner, and he was a great actor for as young as he is. I really bought everything that he did. There was not a point where I was sitting there going, this is a kid acting. He did a great job selling everything. I enjoy some of the Farrelly Brothers movies. So, you know, I'm fine with a great fart poop joke. You know, I think that was actually in the trailer, and that sold me on it, which, by the way, I did not see anything for this movie. And when Mark said Dear Santa, there is an Amy Acker film out there called Dear Santa. Amy Acker played in Buffy. She was in Nope, she was an Angel. Sorry. She was an Angel. And that's, you know, I've loved Amy Acker since watching her there. And I was like, oh crap, I want to watch an Amy Acker film. This was like from 10 years ago, though. I'm like, this is odd. I don't understand why. No, not the case. Dear Santa. And I bet you there's probably about another 2 or 3 other movies out there called Dear Santa. So finding out that this was Jack Black, you know, I was like, oh boy, this is going to be fun. But yeah, I definitely had some issues with Gibby, and I know his appearance was on purpose because that's a whole second wish, is to fix the kid's teeth. But when you're looking at this kid, the whole time he's on screen, you're like, look at this guy's teeth. It's just like in Me, Myself, and Irene. Jim Carrey has this large, like, chin with a big dimple on his chin, and that's the only thing you can look at when he's on screen, this big prosthetic chin. So that's kind of the thought that I got. But again, we're using physical appearance as sometimes, you know, plot device or a joke in some sort. And that kind of, I don't know, whatever. The kids didn't say anything other than look at that kid's teeth. And then, I mean, the ending, we already talked about it, but the thing is that I really did not think that they were going to be like bringing this kid. This is your third wish. Okay, great. Let's just bring somebody back from the dead. I was like, the whole point of the film was the fact that they were trying to get over and work, you know, through this kid's passing. You know, that's got to be a horrible, traumatic trauma for this family to try and work through. And then they're just like, okay, it's undone. Now, granted, it is the greatest wish that could be granted of all, for sure. But I don't know. It just did not land right for me at the end, because
it undoes the whole fucking movie. I really hated it.
Well, I'm not like looking at it plot structure. I'm looking at it like emotionally. For me, it like did not feel right. I was like, this isn't. You just can't do this. How? Anyway, that was my last note on it. Was like, the kid is back. Are you kidding me? And they even they use chemo as a joke. Like the one, you know, they're like, hey, we got to take this kid. I got to take my friend to chemo, you know, and the guy, you know, Jack Black shows up and he's like, hey, well, let's get going. We got to get to chemo at 10 o'clock at night. Made sense. The parents are just like, okay, you could go with that stranger. No problem.
Sure.
All right, whatever. And the kid's room, Liam's room, by the way, I've seen some great children's rooms in film before. This kid's room was lame. I'm just going to put that out there. When you take a look at some other films that like where kids are featured and you go into their room and it's like packed full of great posters and toys. This kid, all he had was his iPad. Reminds me of my kids. I don't know. That's about it. I think Post Malone's Post Malone. He shows up and he does his thing. And, you know, the kid gets on stage and dances with him. my kids loved it. So even Satan can't trick Ticketmaster. That was another note that I had. It's like,
That was awesome.
Good one. But that's it. That's all I'm gonna say. I mean, I had a fun time. If I'm gonna give my 3, it's probably going to be Our Little Secret, Dear Santa, Hot Frosty. Down there at the bottom.
Jesse.
Down there
All
at the
right.
bottom.
You psycho. All right. I mentioned before, I think the kid is great. The kid's probably the high point of this movie for me. He has a lot of earnest. I think as an actor, he had pretty good range. I love the bit where he has his badass day, and he's telling everyone, his line delivery where he takes down the teacher was rough. It was meant to be rough, but it was very well delivered. I'm curious to see how many takes that took. It's very well delivered. I mean, Jack Black annoys me. I fucking hate him.
Oh.
I don't like a lot of Jack Black movies. He for me is the grading part of High Fidelity, and I love High Fidelity. Watched the show. I've reviewed the movie on here. Reviewed the show. So as a music person, I think High Fidelity is just fantastic. But I know too many people like Jack Black, and I just want to beat the shit out of him. So, my problem is Jack Black. If someone can tell me there are some Jack Black movies, like I've said about Ryan Reynolds and some other actors, where you can actually see them act and not be the same fucking character or themselves, fine. I'll watch those movies and I'll judge that for myself. I'm not going to be like some other people and like not believe you that this exists. But everything I've ever seen Jack Black in, with the possible exception of the Jumanji movies, he's just being Jack Black. He's being, like you said, he's Mick. He's just being his Tenacious D character. And it's grating, it's annoying, it's the same fucking bit over and over and over again. And it drives me up the wall. And here, he's trying to play this demon. And I think what you said, Jesse, is true. I think they didn't want to go overboard with the Satan stuff because then you lose the kids. But that's what the movie kind of needed. I heard Chris and Neil review this movie on their podcast, and they were like, it's really flat, kind of cheap and disposable, and I completely agree with that. Like, this was the most safe in the box. It's not quite as bad as Home Sweet Home Alone. Woof, that was trash. But it is definitely I can see why this went straight to Paramount Plus, because I'm sure at some point somebody pitched this as an in-theater thing, saw what they had, and were like, no, this isn't attracting an audience.
I think that I think that Jack Black and Paramount will probably. I didn't see any previews, trailers at all for this thing, and my understanding is like it just really flew under the radar. So I don't think too many people were in promoting it. Yeah.
No, I think they had a funny concept, and I think they made a serviceable, competent film. But I think when they saw what they had, they were like, "This isn't getting an audience." And if we put it on streaming during Christmas time, people will find it because they're looking for Christmas stuff, and they'll watch it. And if you think Jack Black's shtick is funny, then they'll enjoy it. And that's about it with this movie.
The concept of a kid going to hell is not very pleasant. I mean, that's kind of like where you're at with this. Okay, I've got a pitch for you here. This kid, he's really worried about going to hell. He doesn't really want to, but Jack Black's got him by the kahunas. And
I think not. I think the reveal at the end is also not well done. I think midway through the movie, Jack Black had to go back to hell, and that's when you learn he's a demon. And it's like, they tell you way too late in the movie that the stakes were if he doesn't get this kid's soul, he'll get exiled from hell, which would have given their more tension in what his character is doing, because like the whole time he's just sort of the spirit of temptation. That's it. That's his entire character. It's Jack Black's School of Rock character as the spirit of temptation. And I would have liked to have known, oh, wait, if he doesn't do this, like that's why he's really pushing it. Not because he's the spirit of temptation, but because he will suffer if he doesn't. Well, that's compelling. That's an interesting take. As much as I like the kid, and as much as I enjoyed the bit where he turns, I would have liked a little bit more sort of angst and a little bit more pathos from the kid, especially like if you're gonna make a big deal out. Because here's the thing: what you're told in the movie is that his problem is his parents are fighting all the time. And then suddenly it becomes, when you realize they're fighting because they've never gotten over the death of the brother because it was only a year ago. Okay, but I think the stuff with the brother is introduced way too late in the movie. Mm-hmm. And then, again, the parents reconcile all on their own, and it's a very sweet reconciliation. And as somebody who has had one or two misunderstandings with their spouse, and realizing, if we had just been speaking the same language and heard each other, this could have all been avoided, was a really nice moment, and it was about the only moment that got an emotional reaction from me. And then they completely shot it in the fucking head and undid it with bringing back the brother. So none of that matters. The whole message of this movie is, if you talk to your spouse and you're open and to listening to your spouse, you can get past any major disagreements or trauma that you have. You're better together than you are apart. But no, also, what fixes it is magic.
They wrote themselves
bringing people back from the dead.
Right, right. The answer. So here on the Radulich Broadcasting Network, let me give you the message, the phrase that pays. The answer to all your problems is necromancy. Got a problem in your marriage? Bring somebody back from the dead. Got a problem with school?
Easy.
Back from the dead. Got a problem at work? Again, animate a dead body.
I can't wait to hear the AI talk about what you just laid out there for us. And then they started talking about necromancy.
And then he was advocating for necromancy, and I can't abide by this podcast anymore. So yeah, there are elements of Dear Santa that I liked. However, it was the one that I enjoyed the least, and in total, I think it's the worst made. I think there were some. I think the writing in Hot Frosty and Our Little Secret was far better than the writing in Dear Santa. Like, this needed another pass through editing, and the other two just marvelous. Can I say I'm a simple man with a simple plan? So, anything else about Dear Santa, Mick?
I kind of blanked earlier, and I thought we were still doing the initial, what our first thought was. So I do have more to say.
Good.
But no, I agree that I feel like that dead brother thing was a little. It's almost like they wanted to make it a twist.
Yeah.
But in order to do that, they didn't do it well.
Yeah, they did not take you there.
No, and there was only one callback when he was having a conversation with his friend in the woods, and he was going to tell him, and then the kid's brain just went elsewhere and was like, "Have you tried the Impossible Whopper lasagna?"
Right.
But that was the only callback to anything that they were talking about, and then you don't hear hints until the very end when they're about to tell you what happened.
Yeah.
So I feel like if they were going to do that better, it would just be putting in their fights, adding something about having it's all your fault or it wasn't my fault or stuff like that.
They also needed to make the brother more of an issue for why Liam doesn't do well in school. Because you're sold on he's just an awkward dork. Oh,
right.
Look, it's a fat kid with glasses. All right, I'll buy that that's a reason why he gets bullied at school, sure. Oh, no, it's because he's the dead brother and he's sad. Which one fucking is it? And if he's sad about the dead brother, I didn't see that. I saw I'm an awkward fat dork.
Right.
But I also thought they did really well in displaying kids how they are now. Just how they actually would act in school or in their own lives for the most part. I feel like that's instead of hyping them up like some high school movies do. Mm-hmm. And I know this is they're in middle school, elementary, something like that, 6th grade.
Middle school.
But they still, a lot of movies will blow everything out of proportion and make probably for drama.
Yeah.
But they made them actual kids.
Right. I
would agree with that.
Very realistic.
Also, I found the guy, his friend, they actually both of the different teeth he has, the messed up teeth, and then when they get fixed, are not the actor's real teeth.
Wow.
Both of them.
Really?
Yeah, because we looked up a picture of what the actors' actual teeth look like, and they were completely different.
What a weird, it's just such a weird, like the one thing, but then again, I guess it's viable that a kid would wish that their friend's teeth would be fixed, but just you could have went a different direction with that second wish, like a whole different reason for it. Didn't have to be, this kid's had horrible teeth, but whatever. That's, I think, the fair.
He's doing a nice thing for his friend is what it was. Like his, like he can't get a girl to talk to him at the concert. He's just like, ugh, everything, you get everything and I get nothing. Woe is me. And so, well, I don't want my friend to be sad. So fix his teeth so he'll be hot now.
Well, I get that. I'm just saying they didn't have to have the whole teeth thing in there at all. Like, I didn't have to be something in the movie.
Would you want him to have a fucking unicorn horn?
I wanted could have been something else. It's just an odd choice, which is, like I said, I think
please, Santa, take away my friend's third arm.
But I also thought it was like the sequence when he goes back to hell, like whenever he's talking to actual Satan. Yeah. It's like a weird 30-second cameo for, what's his name?
Ben Stiller.
Zoolander.
Ben Stiller.
Whatever the actor's name is.
Yeah.
And that's it. That's all you get. You get like 30 seconds and done.
That's all right, though. He did a good job. He really put him in.
That scene felt interminable to me. Like, you're saying 30 seconds. I'm like, so how about 30 minutes?
Oh.
And it's another example of, we don't write jokes. We write stuff we think is funny to us, and it just goes on forever. Like, and they're doing like a modern comedy shtick, and just like little stupid phrases. Like all right, I'm probably being too picky because I'm me about it.
He just doesn't like Jack Black.
I don't like Ben Stiller either.
You don't like Ben Stiller either? Oh wow!
No, I told you I don't like most comedies.
Needs a glass of shut the hell up.
I guess my actual final thought is I really want Jack Black's coat.
Oh yeah,
the coat he wears in that movie is so cool.
I like it. I'd like his beard. I can't grow anything like Mark's got there. See, look at that. I can't grow anything like that. No,
I have to wash this a lot, or I get allergens in it.
Sounds like a lot of work. Never mind.
Yeah, I've spent a lot of time grooming this wonderful beard, this sexy beard, as I've been told. All right, so that's it. That was fun, guys. We managed to get that in under 2 hours too. Maybe maybe if we'd done like a Kubrick Christmas movie, we'd still be talking about it. But yeah, I enjoyed this. I enjoyed talking about these movies. I'm glad we did this. Mick, any final thoughts?
Nope. Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays to everyone listening or watching.
All right, Jesse, you got anything before we go? Before we go into plugs?
Well, there isn't anything else on the agenda that you're going to torture me with here this Christmas, is there?
Just body count, motherfucker.
Oh, that ain't torture, baby.
Oh, yeah.
That is not torture.
I will talk about it in the plugs, but that is the second of our 2 Christmas shows.
All right.
I'll have a different Christmas shirt on.
All right. Very good. Very good. No, I think
make sure you come prepared and festive.
I will.
Will do. I'll probably be a little less dainty.
Glad I got to talk to you guys about the 3 films. I had a good time.
Hang on. I was actually thinking about this as you were talking. It's like, Mick looks really, and I don't mean to be creepy or weird, but you look really pretty tonight. The way you did your hair and everything, and you have subtle makeup on. You didn't come on looking like a fucking kabuki theater. And
I got green eyeshadow on.
You do, but it's more subtle than the usual Joker makeup you guys usually come on in. So I liked it. I was appreciating it. But it was funny because that was my first thought. I was like, oh, she didn't. Because she's like, I'm going to come prepared for this. I'm just like, Christ almighty, she's going to show up looking like a goddamn reindeer or some shit. Look, I am the spirit of Christmas. All right, calm the fuck down.
Well, I'm glad you appreciate the hair. It takes 2 hours to curl my hair.
It's well worth it. All right, now that I'm done awkwardly flirting with the child. Jesse, what were you saying?
I was just thanking you guys for talking about the movies with me and giving me the opportunity to discuss them with you. So I appreciate that.
Absolutely. All right. So, blah, blah, blah. We are not in January just yet. Tomorrow, speaking of things I slept through, Kraven the Hunter. Ugh. We'll be talking about that on Damn You Hollywood. That'll be myself, Jason, Robert, Shay, and Mac, assuming everybody shows up. Tuesday, Alexis is reviewing The Penguin, the HBO Max show. I will not be on that. I think that's her. Dorian. Jesse, are you coming on that one?
No.
Okay, I don't know who else she's got. Wednesday, I will be on Movies That Don't Suck and Some That Do, once again talking about Kraven the Hunter, but also talking about a movie I did enjoy, Lord of the Rings, War of the Rohirrim, which is fantastic. Thursday, we are doing Body Count, Merciless on the Metal Hammer of Doom Jukebox. I have special intro music set for this. This is our Christmas show. I'm very excited. That's what's going on.
It should be fun.
There may or may not be alternative commentary coverage for Alexander Usyk versus Tyson Fury 2. And if there is, it might just be me. It might be me and Robert. I haven't planned anything yet. I'm definitely gonna be home watching it, but I'm also busy doing stuff that day, so I don't know if I'm gonna be able to cover it live. Jesse and I, a week from tonight, are gonna record another source material. Jesse, send me the goddamn source material logo and the intro, please, so that I have music to play before we start talking.
Okay.
Second time I had to ask him for that, Mick. Fucking laying down.
Slacking.
Oh, wait, I found it. Oh, there it is. Oh, sorry.
Oh, boy. That's not Christmas at all.
Never gets old.
And then we got Sonic the Hedgehog 3. And I'll tell you what. We almost did a different third movie. I wanted to dump Dear Santa because the guys over at Movies That Don't Suck were doing it. And I went to Mick first, and Mick was like, no, I don't want to do this. I want to stick with Dear Santa. And so I did as Mick requested. But God damn it, I really wanted to talk about The Merry Gentleman. Because it's like an all-male strip show.
Could not escape that trailer from Netflix, that's for sure.
So instead, myself, following up on my poor parenting with Raccoon, myself, my son, and my daughter will be doing an alternative commentary for The Merry Gentleman on Christmas Eve before we go do Christmas Eve stuff.
Nice.
So, yeah. I checked the parenting guide this time, Jesse. It's PG. It's PG.
Good,
I'm
good
covered.
For you.
I can show my son the movie about the male strip review because it's PG. Like all good male reviews should be.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah. And then, like I said, a week from Thursday, Jesse and I will be looking at Heels Season 2. So that's what we got going on here. Mick, tell the people where they can find you and your stuff.
So I do sewing, painting, and whatnot. I post it all on Instagram on onyxcat.create. And I'm also on Facebook, Mick Wanamaker. And I want to show y'all what I painted today.
Ooh. Oh, wow.
Nice.
That's very pretty. Good job.
Very nice.
It's a present for my grandma. So
I like that.
yeah, I do paintings, whenever y'all want. And that's about it.
Cool. Jesse, show us where you pissed from.
Oh, my goodness. Well, ladies and gentlemen, you could go and check out the Source Material Comics feed, which is right here on the W2Mnet.com feed or website, something like that. Anyway, should be able to punch that into a podcatcher and check that out, or YouTube. The Source Material Comics podcast is on YouTube as well. Last week, myself and Al Sedano got together and talked about Quantum and Woody Volume 2. So if you are a Christopher Priest fan, you would find a lot of enjoyment reading that.
Did Quantum give Woody a hot frosty?
There is a part in that book, Mark. These guys switch bodies, right?
Oh, my.
Yeah. But it's great because they both have to go to the bathroom afterwards. And they are going through this process of trying to figure out how they're going to hold themselves. And so they decide to hold each other's stuff so it wouldn't be too weird. It's great. It is a great book.
How many times do I have to tell you to stop talking about your gay fanfic on my podcast?
It's so good. It's so good.
You keep that stuff in the basement where it belongs, Jesse.
It's so good. Anyway, and then last week, I think me and Evan Bevins got together and discussed Marvel Snap. So if you play Marvel Snap on your mobile device, we have about 3 to 4 20-minute podcasts out there once a month. You should go check that out. And tomorrow, Unspoken Issues returns with a discussion about Gen 13. So if you're a 90s comic book fan You may remember Gen 13 coming out, Caitlin Fairchild, Grunge, Free Fall, Rain, something or other. I can't remember. Anyway, we discuss all 6, 7 maybe issues there at the beginning run, which was like 0, 1/2, and then 1 through 5. So that's it. That's all I got.
All right, folks, if you don't listen to any other podcast this year, let me go ahead and say Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. And if you do, come check us out again tomorrow and Thursday. For Mick Wanamaker, for Jesse Starcher, I have to go to bed. Be well, be safe, and have a Merry Christmas.